My life's been nothing short of a roller coaster, but whose isn't, right? Born to a dad who had to play both roles after my mom decided motherhood wasn't her gig, I grew up quick, learned tough, and got myself through college without much fuss. Dad was the real MVP, working odd jobs, making sure I had what I needed, and keeping me on the straight and narrow. After college, I packed up my life and moved to the city for a job that sounded way fancier than it was, manager at a car company. It was there, in the thick of engine oil and sales targets, that my path took a turn I never saw coming. The night I met Daniel, I was out with some work friends, blowing off steam at some dive bar that had more character than cleanliness. He walked in like he owned the place, and maybe in a way, he did, charming the socks off anyone within a 2-foot radius. Our eyes locked, and that was that. Fate, if you believe in that sort of thing. "Hey," he said, sliding up next to me at the bar. His smile was easy, his confidence infectious. "Hey yourself," I shot back, trying to match his vibe, but feeling my cheeks heat up. "Smooth, Erica, real smooth. What's a girl like you doing in a dump like this?" His tone was teasing, his grin wide. "Living the dream, clearly," I replied, rolling my eyes, but unable to keep the smirk off my face. "And you? Lost on your way to a GQ photo shoot?" He laughed, a sound that warmed me from the inside out. "Something like that. I'm Daniel, by the way." Erica. Shaking his hand felt like sealing some unspoken deal. Little did I know. We talked for hours that night, about everything and nothing. The more we chatted, the more I realized Daniel was more than just a pretty face. He was smart, funny, and had a kind of sincerity that was hard to come by. When he asked for my number, I didn't think twice. Our whirlwind romance kicked off from there. Dates turned into weekends together, and before we knew it, 2 years had flown by. Daniel popped the question on a chilly evening in December, right in the middle of the street, with snow gently falling around us. It was so cliché, so unexpected, and so perfectly us. "Marry me, Erica. I'm a better man with you by my side," he said, his breath fogging in the cold air. I was speechless, a rare state for me. "Are you out of your mind? It's freezing, and you choose now to ask?" I teased, even as tears prickled at the corners of my eyes. "Would you have me any other way?" He grinned, dropping to one knee right there on the icy sidewalk. "In your dreams, Daniel. Of course, I'll marry you." And just like that, our new beginning started. After the whole knee and snow proposal scene, life with Daniel took on a new kind of normal. We were in that love bubble where even the burnt toast felt like a sign of our quirky domestic bliss. But as with any couple, the real world wasn't about to let us float too high without a reality check. "Erica, we've been trying for a while now. Maybe we should see a doctor, just to check everything's alright," Daniel said one evening, his voice laced with a concern he tried to mask with a casual shrug. I paused, the reality of our situation sinking in. "Yeah, I guess it wouldn't hurt. I just thought it would have happened by now, My voice trailed off, a mix of disappointment and worry creeping in. The tests were a blur of clinical words and sympathetic smiles. "Everything seems in order, but these things can sometimes take time," the doctor had said, offering a reassuring pat on the shoulder that felt more patronizing than comforting. Months turned into a year, and the strain began to show. Not just on me, but on us. Daniel was trying to be supportive, but the disappointment each month was a heavy silence we both carried. One night, after yet another negative test, Daniel found me on the couch, staring blankly at the TV, not really seeing anything. "Hey," he said softly, sitting down beside me and taking my hand. "Talk to me, Erica." I sighed, the weight of our struggles pressing down on me. "What if it never happens, Daniel? What if we can't have a baby?" Daniel squeezed my hand, his eyes meeting mine with a fierceness I hadn't expected. "Then we'll figure it out. Together. We always do." But I refused to believe that. "We're going to have a family, Erica, no matter what it takes." His words were a lifeline, pulling me back from the edge of despair. I love you, Daniel. I just hate seeing you disappointed. Disappointed? Erica, the only disappointment is seeing you this upset. We're in this together, remember? Screw everything else. And then, when we least expected it, the impossible happened. I was late, but not in the way I'd grown accustomed to each month, with a sinking heart. This time, hope flickered to life, cautious and fragile. Daniel, I called out, holding the pregnancy test in shaky hands. Can you come here? He appeared in the doorway, his expression a mix of curiosity and concern. What's up? I held out the test to him, the positive sign glaring back at us in bold defiance of all the months of heartache. We're going to have a baby, I whispered, disbelief and joy mingling in my voice. Daniel's reaction was immediate and overwhelming. He scooped me up in his arms, spinning me around as he laughed, a sound so pure and full of happiness it brought tears to my eyes. I told you, Erica. I told you we'd make it happen. His voice was triumphant, his hold on me tight and reassuring. That night, we celebrated, just the two of us, talking about the future, our dreams for our child, and how we couldn't wait to meet the little person who had already changed our lives. Quitting my job wasn't an easy decision, but Daniel was pretty adamant about it. Babe, we need you focusing on the little one. We'll manage. I'll take care of everything else, he'd said, his tone leaving little room for argument. I knew he meant well, wanting to provide for us and ease my burden, but the reality of my days, filled with sickness and exhaustion, was far from what I'd imagined. Mornings were the worst. I'd wake up, run to the bathroom, and barely make it back to bed before the exhaustion hit me like a truck. It wasn't just the nausea, my whole body felt like it was rebelling against me, swelling up and aching in places I didn't even know could ache. Daniel, can you grab me some crackers? I'd call out weakly, hoping to stave off another wave of nausea. But more often than not, Daniel was already out the door, his second job eating up all his time. The few times he was home, I could barely keep my eyes open, let alone maintain a conversation. You're always sleeping, he'd snap, his patience wearing thin. Don't you care about anything else anymore? His words stung, adding guilt to the cocktail of discomfort I was already dealing with. I'm trying, I'd whisper back, tears welling up in my eyes. You think I enjoy this? Our arguments became more frequent, each one leaving a bitter taste and widening the gap between us. The joy of expecting our first child was overshadowed by the strain it put on our relationship. Daniel's late nights and my physical woes had us living like strangers under the same roof. One night, as I lay on the couch, too tired and sore to move to the bed, Daniel came home later than usual. The sound of the door slamming jolted me awake, my heart racing. Another long night? I asked, my voice hoarse from disuse. What do you think? He retorted, his voice sharp with exhaustion. Someone's gotta pay for all this, he added, gesturing vaguely around our small apartment. I bit my lip, holding back the tears. I miss you, Daniel. We hardly talk anymore. He sighed, running a hand through his hair, a gesture I knew meant he was stressed. Erica, I'm doing the best I can here. I don't know what you want from me. I want us back, I said softly, the loneliness in my voice echoing in the silence that followed. With Daniel working all hours and me trying to prep for our baby girl's arrival, things were tense. His folks, though, were a godsend. Living just a short drive away, they'd pop over often, helping out however they could. His mom, Linda, was particularly amazing, taking the lead on throwing a baby shower that was nothing short of spectacular. Linda turned our little apartment into a pink wonderland, filled with flowers, treats, and laughter. She even crafted this elaborate diaper cake that was both bizarre and beautiful. The wall behind the dining table was adorned with Sophia, our chosen name, in big, glittery letters. It was perfect, except for one glaring absence, Daniel. I'd asked him, no, pleaded with him to make it back in time. It's important to me, Daniel. Please, try to leave work early for once. I had said over the phone that morning, hope threading through my voice. Yeah, I'll see what I can do," he'd muttered, the sound of his keyboard clacking in the background. I should have known then not to get my hopes up. The party was a hit, with Linda's games and jokes keeping everyone entertained. Yet, my eyes kept darting to the door, wishing for it to open and Daniel to walk through. But he didn't. Not until long after the last guest had left, long after the laughter had died down. He stormed in at 11 p.m., the joy of the day evaporating the second I saw his face, contorted in anger. "What the hell happened here?" he barked, staring at the mess of decorations and leftover food. I was on the sofa, feet swollen, emotions frayed. "It was the baby shower, Daniel. Your mom and we organized it together. And you couldn't clean up? What's with that stupid name on the wall? Is that supposed to stay there?" His words were like daggers, each one slicing through the happiness I had felt just hours before. Tears spilled over, my voice a whisper among sobs. "It's our daughter's name, Daniel. Your mother put it up. I thought you'd be here." He scoffed, his anger unyielding. "I was working, Erica. Something you'd know nothing about anymore." With that, he stormed off to the bedroom, leaving me alone, drowning in a sea of pink and tears. The next morning was as if the night before had never happened. Daniel left for work without a word, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. I sat there, in the aftermath of what was supposed to be a celebration, feeling more alone than ever. Linda came by later, her face falling as she took in the scene and my red-rimmed eyes. "He didn't make it, did he?" It wasn't a question. It was an acknowledgement of a painful truth. I shook my head, unable to find the words. She sighed, her disappointment in her son palpable. "I'll talk to him, Erica. This isn't right." But I knew deep down that no amount of talking would fix what was broken. Daniel had drifted so far from us, from me, that I wasn't sure he could find his way back. The day our daughter, Sophia, came into the world, it was just me and the buzz of my phone. I texted Daniel right after she was born, a simple message bursting with the biggest news. "You're a dad. Sophia's here." But all I got back was silence, even though I saw he'd read the message. It was like shouting into a void, expecting an echo that never comes. Leaving the hospital, my in-laws were the ones by my side, not Daniel. They were angels, honestly, helping with everything from the car seat to setting up a little nest for Sophia back at home. "You just focus on being a mom, Erica. We've got the rest," Linda, my mother-in-law, assured me with a warm smile that made things a little less heavy. When Daniel finally did show up, days later, his awkwardness around Sophia was like a wall between us. "I don't think I should hold her. I might do it wrong, hurt her or something," he muttered, staring at his own daughter like she was a stranger. I tried to keep the peace, keep things light. "It's not rocket science, Daniel. You won't break her. Here, just support her head," I said, gently offering our daughter to him. But he just backed away, shaking his head. "Nah, better not. I'm all thumbs, remember?" His attempt at a joke fell flat, leaving a sour taste. It was clear it wasn't just clumsiness holding him back, he didn't want to hold her, be near her. Things didn't get better. Nights were the hardest. Sophia, like any newborn, kept us up at all hours. But instead of pulling together, Daniel pulled away. One night, after a particularly rough round of crying, he announced, "I can't do this. I need sleep for work. I'll be in the spare room." "Just like that, then? You're bailing on us?" I couldn't hide the bitterness in my voice, holding Sophia close, feeling more alone than ever. "It's not like that, Erica. I need to function, alright?" And with that, he left our room, the gap between us growing wider with every step he took away. Days turned into weeks, and Daniel's visits to our bedroom became less and less frequent, until they stopped altogether. Our conversations were brief, functional, avoiding the elephant in the room, his absence, his detachment, and the growing distance between us not just as parents, but as a couple. One evening, I tried again, hoping to bridge the gap for Sophia's sake. She's changing every day, Daniel. Doesn't that mean anything to you? I asked, hoping for something, anything, that showed he cared. He looked tired, worn down, but there was a flicker of something in his eyes when he glanced at Sophia. Of course, it does, Erica. I'm just not cut out for the baby stage, I guess. It's not a stage, Daniel. It's our life now, I replied, feeling the weight of our new reality pressing down on us both. Life with a newborn was no joke. Sophia was an angel by day, but turned into a party animal by night, crying and fussing till the sun came up. I was running on empty, looking more like a walking ghost than a new mom. Self-care was a distant memory, and all I dreamt about was sleep. One evening, as the clock ticked past our usual dinner time, I realized I hadn't even thought about cooking. Daniel came home, tired and hungry, to find the kitchen empty and me, half asleep with Sophia in my arms. "What's this? Where's dinner?" he barked, his voice echoing off the walls, filled with frustration. I blinked back, tears, exhaustion making it hard to form a coherent response. I didn't get to it. Sophia was up all night, and what? You're home all day, Erica. How hard can it be to throw something together? His outburst cut deep, each word a reminder of how far we'd drifted from each other. This became our new normal, Daniel complaining about the lack of cooked meals, the untidy house, and how I was always too tired. His words stung, leaving me feeling inadequate and alone. One day, after a particularly harsh criticism, I reached out to Linda, spilling everything that had been happening. "Daniel just doesn't understand. I'm trying, but it's never enough," I confessed over the phone, the dam of my emotions breaking. "Oh, honey," Linda's voice was a mix of anger and sympathy. "He has no right to speak to you like that. You're doing your best. I'll have a word with him. And don't you worry, I'll help you out with the dinners." True to her word, Linda started dropping off meals for us, making sure Daniel didn't catch on. It was our little secret, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. "Thank you, Linda. I don't know what I'd do without you," I said one evening as she handed me a casserole, her presence a comforting reminder that I wasn't in this alone. "Don't mention it, dear. Your family. And it's high time Daniel remembered that too," Linda replied, her tone firm, promising change. Her help was a band-aid on a bullet wound, though. Daniel's temper flared over trivial things, his patience thinning more each day. The meals may have been sorted, but the underlying issues, the lack of understanding and support, remained. One night, as Daniel complained about the laundry not being done, I couldn't hold back any longer. "I'm not Superwoman, Daniel. I'm doing the best I can. Why can't you see that?" I yelled back, my voice shaky with pent-up frustration and fatigue. He stared at me, his expression a mix of surprise and annoyance. "Well, maybe if you managed your time better." "Managed my time better?" I interrupted, incredulous. "I'm trying to keep our daughter happy and healthy, on no sleep, with no help from you. What more do you want from me?" Our argument spiraled from there, a harsh exchange of words and accusations. It was clear that something had to give. Linda's intervention was a temporary fix, but Daniel and I were on the brink, our marriage strained to breaking point by resentment and misunderstanding. That evening, everything came to a head in a way I never expected. Daniel stormed in, his face thunderous, while I was setting the table with the food Linda had brought over. The tension in the air was thick, almost suffocating. Without even tasting the food, Daniel swept the plates off the table, shattering them against the floor. "I can't eat this crap. It's tasteless," he yelled, his anger palpable. I stood there, stunned into silence, my heart pounding in my chest. Before I could muster a response, Linda emerged from Sophia's room, having heard the commotion. "What on earth is going on here? Why did you dump my food on the floor?" she demanded, her eyes darting between the mess on the floor and her son's furious face. Daniel, caught off guard by his mother's sudden appearance, stammered, "I thought Erica made this. It's awful." Linda's face turned red, not with embarrassment, but with anger. "You thought Erica made this?" And that gives you the right to act like a child, throwing food around? She stepped closer to him, her voice rising. Do you have any idea how hard she's working, caring for your daughter all day and night? When was the last time you acknowledged that, huh? Daniel looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him up. Mom, No, Daniel. Linda cut him off sharply. You need to hear this. Erica's doing the best she can under tough circumstances. And instead of supporting her, you criticize and belittle her efforts. Shame on you. Daniel's eyes lowered, the fight going out of him. He mumbled an apology to his mother, but Linda was quick to correct him. You owe your apology to Erica, not me. And you know what? You need to spend a day in her shoes. Maybe then you'll understand. The silence that followed was heavy, charged with unspoken truths and realizations. Daniel nodded slowly, the reality of his actions beginning to sink in. I'm sorry, Erica. I didn't realize. Linda's plan was simple, yet daunting. Daniel would take over all my duties for a day, caring for Sophia without any help unless it was absolutely necessary. I was skeptical, but desperate for a breakthrough. After Linda's departure, the air was still thick with tension, but there was a newfound resolve between us. So, we're doing this, huh? I asked, half doubting, half hopeful. You're going to take a crack at my day today? Daniel nodded, the weight of his recent realizations evident in his posture. Yeah, I need to see for myself. How hard can it be, right? There was a hint of his old, cocky humor, but it was laced with apprehension. Okay, but you're on your own, remember? I'm just a call away, but only if you really need it. I reminded him, laying out Sophia's schedule, her feeds, her naps, everything on paper. Spending the day with Linda was a breath of fresh air, literally and figuratively. We shopped, laughed, and for a few hours, I was just me again, not just a mom or a tired wife. Coming home, I was greeted by the sight of Daniel, who looked like he'd been through a war zone. His hair was a mess, there were stains on his shirt, and the living room looked like a toy bomb had exploded. Erica, he breathed out, relief and something else, maybe respect, coloring his tone. He wrapped me in an exhausted embrace. I'm sorry. For everything. This was the hardest day of my life. I couldn't help but laugh, the tension of the past weeks melting away. Oh, really? And here I thought it was just me not managing my time well. I teased, but gently, seeing the genuine remorse in his eyes. He kissed my hands, an act so tender it made my heart swell. Please, don't leave me alone with her for that long again. I had no idea, everything you do. It's unbelievable. After that day, things started to shift between us. It was like we finally found our rhythm again, understanding and appreciating each other in ways we'd forgotten. He got it now, how relentless and exhausting it was to care for Sophia, and he stepped up, big time. Hey, why don't you take the afternoon off? He'd suggest on a Saturday, seeing the fatigue in my eyes. Go hit the shops or get your nails done. I've got Sophia. Linda and we became thick as thieves. She wasn't just my mother-in-law anymore, she was my confidant, my support system. You've done wonders for him, you know. For both of them, she'd tell me, and I could see the pride in her eyes. One evening, as we sat down after putting Sophia to bed, Daniel turned to me, his hand finding mine across the couch. I was thinking, maybe it's time for you to focus on what you want again. You've been talking about going back to work, right? I nodded, surprised. Yeah, but I didn't want to just spring it on you. We've just gotten back on track. He squeezed my hand, his smile reassuring. We're a team, remember? I've seen how much you've sacrificed, how hard you've worked to keep our little world spinning. It's my turn to support you now. The relief and love I felt in that moment was overwhelming. I've missed my work, but I was scared it would be too much for us to handle. We'll make it work. Just like we always do. Together, he said, the determination in his voice matching the resolve in my heart. And so, I started looking into going back to work, energized by the prospect of reclaiming a piece of myself that I'd put aside. Daniel and we found our balance, sharing the load of parenting and household duties, supporting each other's dreams and ambitions.